Earlier today, Hakeem Jeffries sat down with CNBC for an interview, and I couldn't help but notice that finally the tables had turned on him. For once, someone asked all of the tough questions, and they refused to give him a free pass. He was blatantly called out for his greed of additional government spending. And of course, we saw Jeffries pivot, as he always does, to issues of fairness, justice, opportunity, and racial disparity. But in today's video, I'm going to break it all down to you. So welcome back, and if you're new, this is going to be a good one. So like, comment, and consider subscribing for more daily news updates. It means the world to me, and don't forget to share. To basically sum this interview up, Jeffries' answers were thin and unreasonable. A lot of fluff about justice and inclusion, but less about numbers and trade-offs. The American people deserve more than this. They deserve actual plans. If a leader is going to talk about fairness and opportunity, but insist on more government programs with no accountability, that's not reform. That's more a secret and unnecessary spending. Also, if you're going to talk about fiscal responsibility, you can't cherry pick when you oppose tax cuts, but champion big spending. And Jeffries was confronted on that by CNBC, and he flinched. This interview exposed that tension. He couldn't clearly reconcile his promises with what he actually does. And that right there, that's the hypocrisy. Preaching restraint when you're out of power, but going full force when you are in power. Talking fairness, then backing out when it's time to be fair. Let's take a look at this clip of Hakeem when he's confronted about the additional government spending. Watch this.
The problem is inflation is often caused by government spending. Additional government spending is not likely to get it to the point where we are going to see less inflation out there. How do you handle that?
This is not additional government spending.
It is additional government spending. You're looking for another $350 billion of additional government spending over the next 10 years?
That's just with
we're actually extending a tax credit that currently exists. And what's interesting is that in then one big ugly bill where Republicans raised the debt ceiling by about over $4 trillion, exploded the deficit and the debt, but then they used a policy framework called current policy baseline, which is to say that if you just extend current policy, it has no fiscal impact. So the question is, why are Republicans willing to use that approach?
Numbers in the government.
So the question is, why are Republicans willing to use that approach when it comes to massive tax breaks?
Like I said, I'm not a big fan with how any of the government not a big fan of how any elected officials tend to use figures to tell us what we want to hear with some of these things. Additional government spending, though, is going to mean worse numbers when it comes to inflation. Is there a way to get everybody together and try and find ways to fix the base problems with healthcare and try and make sure that people are being given the help that they need along the way? It seems like it's a really tough thing to do when the government's been shut for 24 days. That is not a great situation that we're asking other people to bear the pain.
We have a broken healthcare system, and it obviously needs to be fixed in a decisive way. But there are steps that should be taken right now with respect to the reality that tens of millions of Americans are receiving notices as we speak, indicating that their healthcare premiums are about to skyrocket in ways that will bankrupt them or deprive them of the ability to go see a doctor when they need one, when their children or when their families need one. This is not an artificially made up thing. November 1st, open enrollment begins. The notices are...
In that clip, the reporter blatantly calls him out. She asks him a question, and what does he do? He flips it. He doesn't even attempt to answer her question. He goes right into telling her how that's not what it is, that basically she's wrong. What he's basically explaining is that, yes, they do overspend, and that they're going to keep overspending. They're going to use policies and bills that have already been opened to make extensions. You can't say something was already accounted for when you see the problems it's causing in our healthcare system today. All of that money and spending, he didn't even tell her what it was for. He could have just said what they're going to use it for, but he didn't use that. He said that it's already there for them to use, so it won't do anything to inflation. When in reality, if you think about it, yes, you are. You're literally taking the money that's needed for help, putting it to something that makes the problem worse. And because of this, it has to let us know that there's something else going on that we don't know about. It has to be something with the healthcare system, because that's the only main problem why the government has been shut down for this long, the longest in history. And it makes you wonder, are they trying to save face for health programs like Obamacare? The program that gives health insurance and healthcare to everyone? Has that put them in so much debt that they're trying to stay above waters? Next, let's watch this clip of a reporter literally calling Hakeem out for hypocrisy. Take a look at this.
I said, what you are asking the Republicans to do right now when they control the White House, the Senate, and the House is effectively what the Democrats could not do when they controlled all three of those heads of government themselves. The 10-year setup for this, for these, or the 3-year setup for the expiration of these credits was intentionally put in. It was put in when you controlled the White House, the House, and the Senate. You couldn't get it passed for longer. And so this is a setup that kind of your own creation that you all couldn't extend beyond that. Now you want the Republicans to do something you didn't do when you were in power?
It's not a setup beyond what we could do. We extended the Affordable Care Act tax credits in 2022 for 3 years. The program is working. It's providing health care to tens of millions of people in an affordable way, and it should be continued. It's interesting to us that Republicans decided that they would prefer to permanently extend massive tax breaks for their billionaire donors in their one big ugly bill.
In that clip, we can hear the reporter ask a very important question. She stated to him how what you're asking for the Republicans to do now that they're in control is exactly what you couldn't do when you were in control. The expiration on Obamacare and the healthcare credits that you gave it, those are the ones that you set up. You basically set up this failure. When you were in power, why didn't you do it? Why didn't you extend it? Why didn't you pass the things that you needed to happen when you had all the power to do it? You can't expect them to want to do what you asked now when you could have done it yourself. And what does Hakeem Jeffries do? He flips the blame. He then tries to bring up a completely different topic of talking about why Republicans and the billionaires for their own tax breaks and cuts is a problem. Yes, that's a conversation for a whole nother video, a whole nother day. This is not what is being talked about right now. She is asking why you couldn't get the job done. The job that you wanted done, why couldn't you do it? Also, keep in mind that this is still President Trump's first year back in office. First year. And he's doing a lot. You can't expect him to do everything. What you can expect is him to do the things that are on his agenda. And it makes you wonder, what were the Democrats doing in regards to healthcare when they had the power, when they were in control of everything? Lastly, I want to look at Hakeem dodging yet another question when asked about endorsing Democratic Mayor of New York, Mamdani. Look at this.
The election for mayor in New York. Come on. Are you ready? Are you ready to endorse Mamdani yet, Leader Jeffries?
As I've repeatedly said, Joe, I'll have more to say about the mayor's race when I have more to say about the mayor's race.
Today's the day for more. This is part of the future you were talking about last time you were on. This could be the future that you were talking about when you could do it. No.
Well, let me say that, listen, I'm going to continue to lean into the principle as Democrats that we believe in a strong floor and no... Well, listen, affordability, of course, is the top issue for the country. But as Democrats, listen, we believe in a country that brings about a strong floor and no ceiling. You work hard, you play by the rules. There should be no ceiling to your success. That's what I believe in. But at the same period of time, there should be a strong floor anchored in things like Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid.
Was that an endorsement? That almost sounded like you're easing into. So that's what Mamdani, A equals B equals C. That's what he stands for. Therefore, you're endorsing Mamdani. Is that? Have I got that?
No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. But what I will say is that I do think that he took a important step in indicating he plans to retain Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch, who's doing a great job by all accounts.
Okay, so that's a getting you closer and closer. We appreciate, appreciate, as always, speaking with you today.
The reporter asks Jeffries, is he going to endorse Mamdani yet? And what does he do? Jeffries gives analogies talking about ceilings and roofs and foundations for floors, basically beating around the bush to actually answer the question. He's a Democrat as well. Y'all are both in New York. You know him. Why wouldn't you want to come out and publicly say that you are actually endorsing him. There has to be things happening behind closed doors and something going on within the inner circle that possibly could be stopping it. And then the reporter once again asks him, and he says he does approve and like some of the initiatives that Mamdani is taking. He likes some of the steps he's doing and going. So it sounds like you're on the lines of endorsing him, but you won't come out straight and just say it. What is he hiding behind, and what's going on within the Democratic Party? And the election day, it's only a couple of days away. It'll be here in no time. So this is actually the time to say who you're supporting. Who are you endorsing? Who are you backing behind all of this? So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time on KW Lawholic.